Hello, and welcome to this edition of Exclusive Interview, coming to you from the studios of 84 TV Radio Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Stanley Bentu. Now here's an interesting thing about being a Bentu. We have a motto. Eating meat is our birthright. And that's because most of us love to eat meat so much. And one of the meats that I enjoy eating more than any other is called Kilishi. Now, if you've lived in the northern part of Nigeria, then you must have come across this. But does it have an economic value beyond what we see or conceive with our eyes? Well, here is a report put together by the team from 84 TV Radio to give us a background on this fascinating meat.
So, I actually came from Lagos to do something in Abuja, but anytime I come to Abuja, I need to get to this place to get this Kilishi. I think there's something special about it, especially the taste, the hardness, and pepper that is in it makes it very special and unique.
So once I'm in Abuja, I always call Baba or I come to this place to pick the Kilishi if I do not make order, because I like eating it and I like giving it out to my friends too to eat. Yeah, I came all the way from Uyo, Akwa Ibom State to come and eat Kilishi.
It's a dry pepper kind of meat and a very popular delicacy across the north. And people love to eat it from all over the country. I've always been coming here in the past 15 years and I see people come from every part of Nigeria to come and buy.
To prepare Kilishi, we buy a cow, butcher it. After butchering, we remove the bones and fat totally, then use only the meat, which we slice, place on fire to dry. When it's dried, we mix it with ingredients like groundnuts, pepper, onions and seasoning, then roast it again. People buy Kilishi from the range of 1,000 to 50,000 naira because they enjoy it so much and often ask for my complimentary cards so they can send someone else to buy or return to buy it themselves. Kilishi is different from other kinds of meat because it must be dried with fire and it is without fat. Kilishi is made from cow, specifically the bull, because the bull is fleshier than the calf. We usually buy a whole cow, remove the bones, skin and fat, and sell differently. Then slice the meat, roast it. When it gets dried, we'll buy the ingredients and mix it with the meat and roast again. People buy Kilishi from my shop and take to London to share with family and friends. Kilishi can last up to a year if stored in a well-ventilated place.
Welcome back. Joining me in the studio right now is someone who is a specialist in food science and technology. All the way from the University of Benin, I have Professor Emeritus John O. Igene. Professor, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So, interesting thing, you told me that you are known as the Professor of Kilishi.
Well, that's a nickname.
How did that come about, that nickname?
Yeah, actually, it's from the work I have been doing since I started my career at the University of Maiduguri in 1979. I remember Professor Jibamino was my vice chancellor, and I wrote a proposal then in 1980 to work on suya, and it was turned down. 2 times it was turned down. So one day we're in Kano, we had a liaison office in Kano, and we had long. He said, Dr. Gini, why do you want to work on suya? I said, the American hamburger is not as good as Nigerian suya. I just want to, because suya is abused. See it on the street, people think it's not important. That in Nigerian suya is better than American hamburger. I can see what the Americans have done to hamburger.
I agree with you there. It definitely tastes better too. Yeah.
Anywhere they go, they are looking for
a burger,
McDonald's or where they can buy. I said, I just went. My training is in food science and technology, in particular in meat technology. I just wanted to add value to this product that everybody abuses on the street.
Mm. And if suya is abused, then kilishi is abused even more.
Abused. You can see it's produced on the street with flies and all of that. And that distracts from the beauty of kilishi. That I just want opportunity to use my resources, my intellectual resources, to add value.
And that is the perception for some people, and they wouldn't touch it because I've heard people say, "Oh, if you see the way it's prepared." But you say that it has so much nutritional value.
Oh yes. See, kilishi has the formulation with plant materials, granules, other spices, and several other good plant materials makes kilishi very unique. Good, properly kilishi from fine cut of, the hind limbs. It's lean, doesn't have all that fat. That's why kilishi is high energy food. Protein contains about 55%, fat about 13, 14, 15%. Sugar, very low. So there are very few food products that have that kind of combination. Fiber is
there.
High.
So you get the protein, you get the fiber, you get all of that without all of the
So the level of fat
stuff.
is not that this is because when you cut and slide the meat, you remove all that back fat, very lean, and you combine with, clean material from granules, spices, and many other condiments, and flavor. They generate the flavor, so that properly processed kilishi is fantastic.
But some people say the reason they don't eat it is because when they bite on it, it tends to spill and make a mess.
Yes, because the local kilishi maker, they don't know how to manipulate the combinations. But with ethology I developed over the years, those ingredients bind very well with the meat. And so even when you rub on it, you scrub it, the ingredients don't soil your clothes. That is a process that the other person on the street that makes kilishi cannot achieve, because we understand the nature of the raw materials. So when we dry and combine them, when you over dry the meat as the dough, the meat cannot open up to bind with the ingredients. Because beef has some elements when you apply heat, the protein will bind, will like gum, we stretch it like gum and cement. So the way we because we understand the chemistry of meats, we can exploit that knowledge that when you mix the ingredients with the dry meat, and when we dry, we don't over dry, so that we dry to a certain level of moisture removal, so that the protein is not injured. So when you now combine the ingredients and add the salt you add, we have to extract the binding protein from the meat, and so thereafter the ingredients just bind with the meat, so that when you are eating all those dead meat you find in your clothes,
you wouldn't find them anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. And therefore you can now pack them properly.
Oh, very well. And then we package well.
So you're saying we can do kilishi and actually make it better, probably make it a staple food like the American burger.
We exported kilishi for many years from Benin to Europe, because we have a patent for kilishi process technology. And our kilishi, Prof Kilishi, that's the name, Prof Kilishi. If you go into there, you will see it on the internet. Prof Kilishi, TM, That is trademark. That's our trademark. We had the first daily Kilishi. They had the first NAFDAC number in this country in 2013. So we fulfilled all the necessary technical requirements, and we were exporting Kilishis to the Kingdom. A client bought from us 200 parts of Kilishi from the U.S. and he went through the U.S. Custom service. We were monitoring. You cannot export meat to the U.S. It should be dumped. We went through because they saw the product. We made our packaging is unique. I wish I could show you a picture of it here, but if you Google Prof Kilishi,
certainly we will get that.
You will see it.
So, Prof, you are telling me that there is a big economic opportunity here for the export of Kilishi, and I would like to know.
Very much.
Kilishi is not something that you would, the way you are talking about it, it's not something that would be considered a raw material. You've added value to
it's
it.
A product now.
It's a finished product,
it's a finished
packaged product. Yes. Sending out. So it means the bulk of the wealth is going to come into the Nigerian economy.
That same technology which we developed, which we established for raw material development council, the first Kilishi factory based here at the African University of Science and Technology. Raw materials paid for that, so I can use that to demonstrate to Nigerian investors the possibility, the opportunities involved in this Kilishi business. It's a multi-billion naira business, because Kilishi and suya are two products that cut across ethnic barriers. There is nothing against, the leisure you made. People who have resources, it's all over the world. They tend to eat products containing high energy. Kilishi is a leisure. It's a leisure food. It's a, when you travel, you carry it with you. In fact, during the trans-Sahara trades, that's what in the north and in all that's what they survive on. It is lighter, yes. Okay. Accidentally, in 1989, the British government sent a team to the University of Maiduguri to collaborate with Western Maiduguri to develop Kilishi as a military ration.
You were in University of Maiduguri.
I headed the project on side of the university. We went to the UK, they came here. It was the Gulf War that cost us that thing. Again, when we were labeling the MOU, the British people said they will control the technical aspect of it. And we said no. Anybody that controls that has the product. We refused. It's our idea. We can't allow you. It's okay, say we manufacture in the UK. We said no. Let this process be done in Nigeria. We can share dividends, but not that you now say, because you have the resources, you will take over the key elements of this technology. I said, we can send some of our staff to work with you, but not that. So that was part of the problem we had.
And just so our viewers would understand, usually when soldiers go off to war, they're served with rations, which is comprised of foods that tend to last a long time without going bad.
Dry food,
and meat is a very common choice because it's high in protein, so you can actually work. So the British government was actually considering having this partnership with the University of Maiduguri to get Kilishi. And I know they do make fantastic Kilishi in Maiduguri. And unfortunately, you said the Gulf War got in the way. How did that affect this initiative?
Remember in 1991, during the Gulf War, there was a threat to British citizens in the north. And that was the time we were almost finishing the negotiation. and that cost us that. But after that, I left Maiduguri in 1993 to transfer myself to the University of Benin. And but the Kilishi being what I had been doing, I had to carry my Kilishi idea to Benin where nothing existed. But at about 2001 or something, I did a proposal for research grant, sponsored by USAID at that time. And they were giving 4 grants, one to the continent of Africa, one to South America, and all of that. And I won the one for Africa. Was about $200,000. That enabled me to University of Benin to set up a pilot plant for Kilishi processing.
And Professor, I would like to hear more about this pilot plant, but we do have to take a break. Don't go away. We'll be right back, and we have a lot to talk about. Welcome back to Exclusive Interview. I am still having a very interesting chat about Kilishi with Professor Emeritus John O. Igene. And we've had a very educative conversation about, some of the advantages and even the opportunities that could come for Nigeria as an exporting country, which is what we desire to be. And you were telling me about this initiative that you had with the research grant.
Yes.
Can you tell me more about that?
Okay, there was an advert for, like I said, sponsored by USAID through the United Negro College Fund. So we are supposed to work with an American university. So I wrote the grant in collaboration with a Nigerian in that university, Dr. Agbola from Oyo State also. And he was previously a student I supported, doing research or so. And what happened? I got a letter from him asking me that he was doing a special project on African meat product, that he wanted my publications. So I packaged and sent to him. But you know what happened? 2 years after, he wrote to me and said, his professor was involved in assessing me for the younger professor in 1987. And he said, what are we doing? We are copying his paper. We are not doing what is right. Why don't you write to him? That was how he wrote me a letter. But many years after, he now saw this advert in around 1997. He sent it to me. Then I was already in Benin. He said, look, there's advert for research grant to work at an American university. So I looked at it. I said, look, Kilishi is what I should work on Kilishi. So I now wrote the proposal, added his name. And it won the only grant for Africa. So I had our first meeting in Lima, Peru in 2002. It was in 2001 that we won, in 2002. So when I was going, I carried local Kilishi with me, plus the ones I had been working on. You won't believe it. The other people from other nations, that's why I started about Kilishi. So, of course, the grant paid for all the facilities we needed in Benin, but University of Benin provided the building, renovated an old structure. So we had to start from bench work. I mean, usually in development, it's a process. You understand the science, then you want to scale up. So we now had a pilot plant. That was the idea. I thought that I wanted to develop a pilot plant for Kilishi processing. So to the pilot plant, we tried so many scenarios: volume, quantity, drying. We had to develop, drying trays. We didn't dry in the sun on floor. We had to develop drying trays, did monitoring, evaluation, at what temperature is the best to dry, at what airflow rate, formulation, what ingredients, all of those things. We did that for 3 years, and we are reporting. In fact, the USAID was sending people to come and monitor. And at the end, our report was wonderful. But our final report was in Washington, D.C. 2005, and I carried the Kilishi, fantastic package Kilishi. And you won't believe it, some people stole our Kilishi in the demonstrating. White people. So it was a very exciting period for us. Because
and Professor, just listening to your story, and I can see the glint in your eye as you talk about this research. And I'm comparing that with our attitudes towards our local products. I remember not long ago that, we had laughing and scoffing over a budget defense where Kilishi was mentioned as an achievement. And when I compare that to the billions and billions of dollars that McDonald's is worth, that it's one of the biggest exports from the United States, that it's not even just exporting burgers, it's exporting an entire lifestyle built around the concept of McDonald's. And yet we are laughing at our own, saying, okay, you look, how can you say that this is an achievement? So what are we getting wrong in our mentality?
Yes, a number of things. That's the tragedy of a developed country in Nigeria. We don't appreciate what belongs to us. For the many years I worked on Kilishi, I couldn't get a Nigerian government to support my research. Nobody. In fact, University of Maiduguri, in 1982, when I got my first research grant, 81, I was given a grant of 2,400 naira. University of Maiduguri, which I started my work on Suya and Kilishi. In 1981, I attended a conference in Atlanta, Georgia, to talk about Suya. Look, thousands of people. I went out of that conference, I wore a Nigerian clothes, dress, Yoruba, this is. They were taking my pictures everywhere. My pictures appeared in a print form, and I took a traditional African meat product that is easier, convenient, a travel food,
and healthy,
and healthy. And I came back. I was to go to a conference 2 years later in the US. I couldn't get funding. My university didn't fund me to go. So I struggled all the years until the grant I got from USAID saw the value. And the objective was to develop this product as a free market enterprise and also as a major tool for food security in Nigeria. And actually, the average Nigerian access to meat is very limited. Very limited. And so a stick of Kilishi that generated so much energy. If you take a stick of suya, for instance, provided you with sufficient protein for at least 2 days.
And that's why they wanted it for the soldiers.
Yeah, that's what they wanted. And so Kilishi is even more nutrient dense than cereal or suya. So they saw the value in this product, and it gave us all the support. So we finished in 3 years, evaluated our work, and that pilot plant, visits came, FAO people came, British BBC came out. We have all these records, the comments made by people that came. People came from neighboring countries of Chad and Niger, because they also produce Kilishi, but in a different way. Scientists came from other areas to see the great things that we are doing. Thereafter, University of Benin commercialized the factory. We are now producing in large quantity. That was when we are now exporting Kilishi to Europe. We got the first NAFDAC number. Incidentally, raw materials had worked with us for a very long time. There was an organization that supported us. When you said gave all this grant, raw materials came, provided a giant generator, a 60 kV packing generator to support the factory.
The factory, yeah.
And other materials. What about 10 million at that time?
Okay. I'm even looking at an additional benefit to this industry if we were to take it seriously.
Employment generation.
Employment generation, and even conflict resolution.
Economic development.
One of the biggest problems that we've been having with the farmer-herder conflict is the fight for resources.
Yes.
If we have a big demand for Nigerian Kilishi abroad, now all of a sudden the herder will become very critical. We will now have ranches that will protect them properly and create those
ranches,
and then
people will produce pepper, granite, because we sell materials. A whole range of value chains. Do you know, in our factory, we produce granite oil because we don't need the oil. It's the granite paste that we need for the Kilishi processing. So, for every 50 kilogram of granite we buy, we got at least 220 liter jerry cans of clean oil. So, if you are doing Kilishi, there are so many other byproducts that come along with it. We use onions, we use all manners of spices and other, flavor, natural, everything plain. So this will create a hub for agricultural productivity, marketers, everybody. Is a win-win game,
And I think that would be a fantastic place to leave it.
Yes.
Professor, I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to visit us.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Yeah.
We will be right back. Many thanks to Professor Emeritus John O. Igene, who's conducted quite a bit of research into how we can convert Kilishi from food that we just buy on the side of the road to something that can be an economic powerhouse for Nigeria and bring in the much needed foreign currency. Well, right now the Naira is truly struggling, and we have to look inward if we are going to grow the Naira and rebuild our economy. And that's it for this edition of Exclusive Interview. Until we come your way again next time, thank you for stopping by.